This Korean Chestnut Mochi Bread has been all over my Instagram feed. That's a lie, my Instagram feed is just ducks, but it's been all over my sister's Instagram feed. I was bored, so why not try recreating it? No recipes, no instructions, just based off of what's on the back. I don't have half these things, so there will be a lot of substitutions. Wish me luck. I've never even heard of a white kidney bean, so I don't have that. So I'm gonna use my Kobe beans instead. Off to a good start. Give your beans a little bath to wash off all the dust, particulates, hopes, dreams, aspirations, all that stuff we don't want. After that, I soak them in hot water for a few hours. You should probably do overnight, but I forgot last night, so here I am at 6 in the morning, soaking some beans. Great. Now that it's a reasonable time of day, let's guess how to make the dough. I'm assuming these are the ingredients for the flour, and it doesn't call for glutinous rice flour, so I'm just using regular rice flour. Now that I think about it, I think that's wrong. Looking back, I should have used glutinous rice flour. Whoops. I used almost a 1-to-1 ratio between rice flour and gluten. I used a little bit less gluten because gluten was lower down on the ingredients list. I don't know, this is a 100% guess. And then I just added sweetener and salt. I didn't want to open a new stick of butter, so then I just replaced butter with Greek yogurt. And the soybean oil might be part of the dough, so I just pretended that didn't exist. This is what I ended up with. It was still a little bit too wet, too hard to knead, so then I added a little bit more gluten and rice flour. Again, I don't know. Why are you even here? And then I let it rest while I make the filling. I'm adding my beans and my chestnuts to a pan. I'm using packaged chestnuts because I love preservatives. And I thought it'd be a good idea to crush the chestnuts, but I just made a big mess, so I don't do that. Now the goal is to just cook it until it's soft enough to blend into a paste. I forgot to add the sugar, salt, and spices, so you should have probably done that beforehand. But better late than never. Once the beans were squishable, squeeze, I threw them all into a blender and just blended it all up. Also, so I'm using a magic bullet. This is like the worst blender I've ever used. Don't buy a magic bullet. But back to the point, blend it until it's all creamy and stuff. This somehow looks delicious and like poo at the same time. Now for my sorry attempt at wrapping. I am really bad at making dumplings, wrapping baos. There's always holes. I always put too much filling, too little filling. It's a struggle, but here goes nothing. Dust your work surface with some cornstarch to minimize any stickage. And in the meantime, just dust everything. Like legit everything. Your rolling pin, your bench scraper, your hands. Just cornstarch everything. See, that's much better. I rolled it out really, really thin. You'll probably want to keep the wrapper a little bit thicker, but I really like filling, so then I'm just going to put a bunch of filling in it. Hell yeah. But as long as it's legal and your mom lets you do it, do whatever you want. I can never wrap it elegantly like they do at the dumpling shops. As long as you close it and there's no filling popping out, you will be fine. I learned this hack where you just rub it on the work surface to close the seams, and it actually works. Look how cute that is. And if you ever mess up and you like tear your dough or anything, take some extra dough, cover it up, and then turn that little patch away from the camera and no one will know the difference. Excellent. And I even have extra filling.
This is so good. Back to baking.
Now we need to make it look like a chestnut. And I'm pretty sure they use cocoa powder. This is a new box, and of course that would happen. Of course that would happen. I decided to dust it, but then that's definitely wrong. So what I think they do is they probably freeze it, and then they roll it around in cocoa powder. That way there's not too much cocoa powder and it like barely sticks. After dusting, I actually had to scrape off a lot of excess cocoa powder. To make the little chestnut designs, I thought I'd use chopsticks. That did absolutely nothing. So then I switched to a toothpick and that made it look a lot better. And actually, with the excess cocoa powder, I think the lines actually show up more. So that's a silver lining. They kind of look more like clams or seashells than they look like chestnuts. But still look nice, I think. Eh. The bag says 15 to 20 minutes at 338 degrees Fahrenheit, and magical time lapse.
Oh, how is it? It puffed up. Here's a cooked one. I mean, you can kind of see the marks. And it also kind of exploded, but that's just because I'm bad at wrapping these. Let's try to open it. How do they open it usually? That looks pretty good. Thin wrapper. Let's try it out. Here's my attempt at the chestnut bread. Really thin wrapper, really thin like skin. I just like chestnut filling. The inside is so good. Yeah. I don't taste any of the cocoa powder. I think it's just for looks. But how's it compared to the actual one? Obviously the actual one's better. But hey, I think I did pretty well. For not having a recipe and just guessing, I think I did pretty well. There's my attempt at the chestnut bread. Also, using healthier ingredients, not using butter, not using too much sugar. I might make another one. Have a good day. That filling is so good.